This is a visit to the Walters Art Museum in Baltimore. It's located in the Mount Vernon neighborhood. It's about 1.5 miles from the Inner Harbor in Baltimore. So this is the Mount Vernon neighborhood. The arrow points to the museum entrance. The museum's free, but you have to pay for parking in the lot across the street. This image also shows its proximity on the right to the Peabody Institute and Library, and also to the Washington Monument. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this area before we get started with the museum. So this is the Washington Monument. It's a view looking east. It was designed by the American architect Robert Mills. He also designed the Washington Monument on the National Mall, this monument was completed in 1829. It was recently restored, and it can be visited, and you can climb to the top. Behind the monument on the right is the Peabody Institute of the Johns Hopkins University. It's a leading conservatory for music and dance, and it also offers free concerts and other events. It also houses the George Peabody Library, with a collection dating from the founding of the Peabody, which was in 1857. This building dates from 1878, and it contains 5 tiers of ornamental cast iron balconies, which rise to the skylight 61 feet above the floor. The library contains 300,000 volumes, mainly from the 19th century. So now back to the Walters Museum. The collections were amassed by William Walters and his son Henry. William Walters was a Confederate loyalist who moved to Paris at the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861, and while living there, he started collecting. His son Henry refined the collection and also constructed the Charles Street building, which is the facade of it is shown here. This is also called the Palazzo building because it was modeled after a 17th century Italian palace. Henry Walters opened this building to visitors in 1909. Upon his death in 1931, he bequeathed the entire collection, at the time it was more than 22,000 works, along with this building to the city of Baltimore for the benefit of the public. And the Walters Art Gallery opened as a public institution in 1934. So this is a map of the present-day museum campus. You can see the Charles building, and there's also the Center Street building, which was built in 1974 to accommodate the growing collection and the need for new exhibition space. Also part of the museum is One West Mount Vernon Place. This is also known as Hackerman House, and it's an elegant townhouse that was built in 1850 that became part of the Walters in 1985. So this is just a quick look at the museum map. I just want to point out that the Charles building has 3 floors and the Center building has 4, and that there is indoor access to the Hackerman House. So this is just a view of the hallway in the modern Center Street building. Although the museum has galleries with European paintings from various time frames, there does seem to be an emphasis on ancient art, Asian art, and the decorative arts. So we're going to start with the Egyptian galleries. This is a limestone statue from about 1200 BC of a temple musician or chantress. And in her hand she's holding a rattle called a sistrum, which was especially used in worship of the god Hathor. So there's several cases of small, beautiful artifacts like this one, and that is the goddess Hathor in the upper right. She's a bovine mother goddess, and she has the ears of a cow. So I found that the key to appreciating ancient art and also indigenous art for me is knowing a little bit about the religion. And I've always taken a special interest in the ancient goddesses. So this is the goddess Isis, who is a very important mother goddess in Egypt. She's the wife of Osiris and the mother of Horus. Originally worshipped in Egypt as long as 4,000 years ago, she was later also widely worshipped in the Greco-Roman world. Her worship ended with the rise of Christianity in the 5th century, but some scholars think that she influenced later images of the Virgin Mary and Christ Child. This is another goddess. This statue's of granite, and it's from about 600 BC. This goddess is called Taweret, and although represented as a ferocious-looking composite creature with aspects of hippopotamus, lion, and crocodile, she was actually a benevolent protector of women during pregnancy and childbirth. A couple of busts from about 300 BC. These are limestone. The one on the right is thought to represent the second or third Queen Cleopatra. The Cleopatra that we are all familiar with was actually number 7, and she was the last of the line. So of course they have a mummy, and they have some canopic jars, and these were for the mummified organs. So just a few random shots of beautiful works of art. These are a couple of mummy masks, and the one on the right was probably from Roman times. It's a beautiful portrait of the young man who was deceased. And this portrait would have been placed over his mummy. These next 3 slides are just of beautiful, detailed limestone carvings. And these are some of my favorite things in Egyptian art. And this next one is an example, like the Taweret statue, of something done in a much harder stone. This one is a basalt, and it was often used in ancient Egypt. So this is a lovely model boat. It's about 4,000 years old. It's beautifully crafted of painted wood and amazingly well preserved. And these objects were placed in tombs to assist the deceased in navigating the Nile of the underworld. So these next 2 pieces are not in the Walters, but they're in a portfolio in a closet in my home. As I was always very inspired by Egyptian art, these are a couple pieces I made a long time ago. The first is my rendition of the goddess Isis, and the second one shows the Egyptian feline goddesses, Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess, and Bastet, the cat. And these goddesses represent kind of a duality, or Bastet being the good, nurturing goddess, and Sekhmet being the ferocious destroyer and protector. But she was also associated with healing. So even she had, on her own, just had 2 sides. So moving on to the ancient collection, they have one small collection from Mesopotamia. This is a basalt statue of 2 men subduing a monster, and it's from the 10th century BC. And this is a relief of it's called a winged genius. It's about 900 BC Assyrian, and it was placed in a palace doorway in ancient Nimrud in Iraq. He's sprinkling purifying and protective magic on all who enter. It's made of gypsum and alabaster, and the image shows that the sculpture, and the image to the right shows what the sculpture probably looked like originally when it was painted. It's true for a lot of ancient art that we look at. We're seeing it as natural stone, but a lot of it was painted. For example, a lot of the Greek statues. So now we're moving on to ancient Rome. And this is a reconstructed dining room couch from the 1st century BC. The wood and fabric are obviously new reconstructions, but the bronze fittings, which have lions and ducks' heads, are original, as are the bronze oil lamp stands. So in a Roman dining room, there would typically be 3 of these set up in a U shape. They have a whole room of sarcophagus, and this is one of the, I think it's maybe the best one there, but they're all beautiful. They have 4 or 5 of them. And this one shows the triumphal march of the god Dionysus over death. Dionysus is in a chariot to the left, and he is surrounded by followers and various exotic animals. You can see lions and elephants. The top portion of the sarcophagus shows his birth, and or it's the top, it's actually the lid, and his birth and reception by nymphs, and it's that frieze is between the heads of two satyrs. So here's just a couple of gallery views, looking down where they have the Roman collection. And now moving on to the Greek part of the gallery. This is a marble statue of the goddess Aphrodite from the 1st century BC. And the head of a goddess, and both of these are marble. And some more gallery views into the Greek part of the gallery. And that's obviously a beautiful, beautifully preserved Greek urn. And this case has several things in it, an assortment of artifacts from Greece. Most interesting, I think, on the left is the bronze helmet from the 6th century BC. And in the center, there's a bronze helmet and some gold items, including a mask from a warrior's burial. And this is called a Cycladic figure. It's made out of marble. It's about 4,500 years old. And about 1,500 of these, they're mysterious, very modern looking pieces, have been found. And they're found primarily in graves in the Greek Cycladic Islands, which are shown north of Crete. There's really no consensus on their significance, but there is a lovely museum in Athens dedicated to them. And because they're a favorite of mine, of course, I did a painting. And this was after a trip to Greece, and this will be the last painting of mine that you'll see in this presentation. The Walters has a very nice collection of ancient jewelry, and just a couple of examples here. This is very intricately crafted Etruscan jewelry. These are gold pieces from the 6th to 7th century BC. And this is a lovely Roman cameo. So now we're going to pick up the pace a little bit and moving into the Palazzo building. So this is a beautiful glazed terracotta from Italy of Adam and Eve. It's 16th century by the Della Robbia workshop. And any of you who've been to the National Gallery in Washington, there's a lot of pieces by Della Robbia. So this is another view of the courtyard and the Palazzo building. So the museum has a fair amount of armor placed throughout the galleries, and these couple of slides show probably the most impressive pieces. There's also a recreation of an 18th or 19th century so-called gentleman scientist study, and it has cabinets of curiosities. There's a beautiful porcelain collection, and this is just a couple of examples of soft paste porcelain from about 1750. This first one is from England, and this group is from France. So moving on to the painting galleries, this gallery in particular has Baroque and neoclassical Italian art from 17 to 1800. And moving further back in time, this is from about 1600. It's a painting of Saint Mary Magdalene by an artist called Giacomo Galli. And here's the gallery view of that gallery where that painting is. This is an interesting painting. It's a portrait associated with the Medici family of Florence, Italy. It's about 1539, and it's by an artist called Jacopo Carucci. So moving further back in time now to about the 1490s. Oh no, wait, not yet. So this is a wall of the Madonnas. And you can think back to the statue of Isis, the Egyptian statue. It's kind of a similar kind of feeling to it. Okay, so now we're in the 1490s in Belgium. This is the altarpiece It was probably created for the family chapel of the couple portrayed in the wings. They're kneeling in prayer below their patron saints. On the left, he's below John the Baptist, and on the right, she's below Mary Magdalene. And this is composed of oil and gold leaf on wood. And here's another lovely altarpiece. It's very typical of that time period in Europe. So here's a piece I think is very interesting. It's much earlier. It's 6th to 17th century. It's actually Egyptian. It's early Byzantine. And of course it's Virgin and Child, but this is made of ivory. And these are Russian icons. Each is part of a 3-panel group. So these are just representing these triptychs. And these are 16th century. They're painted in tempera on wood, and there's some gilded silver. So this is another type of triptych, and this is from Ethiopia. This is late 17th century, and it's also tempera on wood. So they have some modern works juxtaposed with their ancient works, and this is a very lovely light sculpture. It's in the same gallery with the pieces we just looked at. It's by an artist called Tisday Makonnen, and each tower represents a totem and or sanctuary, and it's a nod to some of Ethiopia's sacred sites. So now as we transition into the Asian art, we encounter another modern piece. This is ceramic stoneware, and it's called Seraphim, and it's by Japanese artist Fujikasa Satoko, and it's from 2015. So as we get into the Chinese gallery, just a couple of random pieces. There's a lot of ceramics, of course. And this is one of the loveliest and most interesting. These you may have seen before because they're in a lot of museums, are from the Tang Dynasty, which dates to 600 to 900 AD. And this is a camel and horse ceramic figures that were created for an elite tomb. So now just a couple of very diverse Buddha pieces. This one reminds me of an incense burner that my mother had when I was a child. So this is a seated Buddha with offering containers in a temple setting. It's from Burma or Myanmar, 18th to 19th century, made of wood, dry lacquer, gilding, and mirrored glass. And this is a favorite. It's a nearly life-size statue of Guanyin from 15th century China with during the Ming Dynasty. Guanyin is a focus of devotion across Asia. Guanyin is a bodhisattva, a divine being who has attained enlightenment but chooses to stay in the world to help others. In China, as the goddess of compassion, she came to be represented as an androgynous or female being. This sculpture of dry lacquer, gold, and paint is actually a technical marvel. The entire figure is hollow and made in a technique similar to paper mache. There's layers of cloth soaked in lacquer derived from tree resin were wrapped over an internal clay support that was removed after the lacquer had hardened. So this is a little different, and it's the Tibetan version. It's the Lord of Compassion. He's shown with 8 arms representing 8 directions and 11 heads, also representing the 8 directions as well as vertical dimensions of top, middle, and bottom. It's from about 1800, made of silver, copper, and semi-precious stones. And now a couple pieces from India. This is a 10th century sandstone statue or carving of Vamana. He's an avatar of the god Vishnu, and he appears as a dwarf to restore balance of power between the gods and the demons, symbolizing the victory of good over evil and qualities of humility, simplicity, and devotion. And this is Devi, the great goddess of India. This statue is from about 1000 AD, also sandstone. She's revered across India, and is the force that animates all living things. Also from India, this is the god Shiva and his wife Uma, or Parvati is also her name. It's made out of copper alloy. It's late 13th century. So they have a few small galleries of Islamic arts, and this is just a couple of examples of what you might find there. This is actually the kind of thing you'll see in Turkey even today if you go there. It's one of their big handicrafts is ceramics, and they do a lot of pottery and tile with these kinds of designs. And then, of course, their other handicraft that's very popular are their handmade rugs. So now, going back to the decorative arts, this time 20th century, this is a gold cup by Tiffany & Company from 1913. It's made of gold and enamel. And these are the Russian Fabergé eggs. The one in the left is the Kachina Palace egg from 1901, and on the right, the Rose Trellis egg from 1907. They're made of gold, enamel, gilded silver, diamonds, rock crystal, and seed pearls. And this is a fern leaves brooch by René Lalique. He was French, and this is from 1903. It's made of gilded silver, opal, glass, and diamonds. So René Lalique, he was born in 1860, died in 1945. He's been called the undisputed genius of Art Nouveau jewelry, and this is a book I have. As part of the Art Nouveau style, many of his jewelry pieces showcase nature, plants, flowers, insects, nymphs, and flowing lines. And here's another piece by him. This is called the Pansy Brooch. It's 1903 as well, and it's gold, glass, enamel, and sapphire. So note that all those pieces, oh wait, this is the third piece. This is a grape necklace, also by Lalique, and this is molten glass, enamel, and gold. So note that all those jewelry pieces had glass components. Ultimately, Lalique moved away from jewelry, and he became best known for his art glass creations in both Art Nouveau and Art Deco styles. And the Lalique Company is still going today, and they have a very nice website that you could visit. So now we're going to move into 1 West Mount Vernon Place, or the Hackerman House, in just a few slides. So this is a townhouse. It was recently very beautifully restored. It was built in 1850. So think about that. That was before the Civil War. And it's now the property of the city of Baltimore, and it's been part of the Walters since 1985. And there's, if you look up the stairwell, that's what you see, this beautiful rotunda. And this is another view in one of the floors. So they do have some artworks there, and they do use this as an exhibition space. So that's it. Visit them sometime. It's really worth the visit. It's a beautiful museum. Thank you.